Hello there, good evening, and welcome. This is Strong and Sassy in your superstation, Joy 99.7 FM. I hope you're good. It's been a good day, hasn't it? We thank God for his mercies always. My name is Enimwa Enim Ado, and I'm on with you until about 7:50 when the football guys kind of just take over the studio. So definitely stay tuned in. And tonight we're talking about thriving in the entrepreneurial space. So we've been talking about women in charge, women on top, women in the spaces that usually are dominated by men and what it's like navigating that space. So tonight we're talking about the entrepreneurial space. And for the first time on Strong and Sassy, my guest is, she's also called Reverend, but maybe I'm not going to start with the Reverend. So she's the CEO for Nutri Health Foods and Beverages, Boahima in Team Reverend. Let me just add it because it is what it is. Hi, good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Enimwa. How are you doing?
I'm very well. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. So, we're going to dive straight into the conversation. And I want to start by finding out, why did you decide, of all things, to go into your own business?
Ooh. I don't know whether to call it a decision, but for me, it has always been what I wanted to do. Even though I decided after school to work in a formal corporate environment, there was always my desire to go into something that I'll do for myself. So I think it wasn't a decision. It always been there, and that's what I eventually did.
Okay, so what was the journey like moving from corporate into the entrepreneurial space?
For me, I think it was quite seamless because it wasn't like a jump. It was something I had intentions to do for a while. So all the time I was working, it was always at the back of my mind that I was going to go out at a point. The point was the challenge because, I was working in a bank then, and typically the bank will pay you bonus in March. And so when I make the decision that, I'm leaving at the end of the year, the next thing you know, you're waiting for the bonus. And then March comes around and you are still there. And it becomes, okay, let me just wait till the end of the year again. But it got to a point when I just didn't think I wanted to go on because I had already started certain businesses on the side and they needed my attention. So I just had to leave at that point.
So, I have a few friends who want to kind of come out of the structured workplace, as it were, and go into their own businesses. But they all talk about a certain fear. From withdrawing from that space where that on the 28th you're going to get a check, knowing that maybe your health insurance is covered and all of that. I really want you to tell us what that feeling is like and how you overcame it.
I think I've always been very pragmatic about things. For me, it was I somehow had the perception that nothing was secure. There was nothing like a safety net wherever you were working,
okay,
no matter who you were working for. In the bank, it was very common to find people lose their jobs for errors they may have committed or some situations they got themselves into. Or the bank could even fail. Or sometimes there were mergers and acquisitions and you realize you don't fit in or you don't have a job. So I think for me, the fear was more in terms of my financial state. assuming I didn't have a job for 6 months, would I be able to survive? That was more the fear for me. And anytime I looked at my salary and I looked at how many hours I put in, and I divided that by the number of hours I was working, I didn't think it was worth the value that was being generated, because at the end of the day, in the bank, you'll be driving a car, but it will be a loan from the bank. You probably will be living in your own home. But it will still be a loan, a mortgage from the bank. And so when you strip all that away, there's nothing to your name. And that for me was more fearful than taking a plunge to say, let me take this plunge and risk it. And I could double or triple or quadruple what I am making now. And that for me provides me more security and safety than working in the bank. Because I kept asking myself, how many years am I going to be here before I become managing director? The likelihood was very far away. So
yeah.
And if that wasn't going to happen anytime soon, then there was really no point. It would be worth the risk. So I would say I didn't have that fear. My fear was more, what would I do in the event that I lost my job, or in the event that I fell sick and could not work for 6 months. And that alone pushed me to take a risk and move.
So did you save up before you quit? Did you have a specific amount of money you needed to have in the bank? What was the plan?
Like I said to you earlier, I have always done stuff on the side, even when I was in formal employment, because I didn't think, I was very young then. And I always told the team I mentored, or my staff, that as a very young person without much responsibility in terms of children and all of that, if your weekend you spend sleeping, then there's something wrong with you. Or you close from work and there's nothing to do but to hang out with friends, there's something wrong with you.
Okay.
Or you take your annual leave and you don't have anything to do. Because there would come a time that you won't have that luxury, because there will be a lot of responsibility. So I always felt that in my spare time, in my extra time, I could do work, I could do other things. So before I left, I had other businesses that I had started.
Okay.
And so I wouldn't say I had saved money, but I would say that I had other sources of income that I could rely on in the event that my salary wasn't coming through. Okay. So yes, it's very important that there's always a backup or a plan B before you take the plunge.
Okay. So you make by far the tastiest teas that I have ever drunk in my life. Except Earl Grey, which you don't make. But
yeah.
And I think I've mentioned that my favorite is the hibiscus cinnamon, and then the hibiscus lemongrass. But the thing is, why tea though?
But anyway, very soon we are going into black teas, and we'll beat Earl Grey.
Oh, I can't wait. I cannot wait, because I love Earl Grey. But why tea? Yeah. How did you decide that, this is what I'm going to do?
I have done tea. It's almost started like a hobby business.
Okay.
I've done a lot of other projects. I'm still doing a lot of other businesses and projects. And so the tea for me started during COVID. I'm a tea. I love tea. I love coffee. I love tea. And I've always been fascinated by beyond the tea, I've always been fascinated with branding and the ability to take something, almost nothing, and create a brand, and an international brand out of it. So that for me was the challenge. And I had the opportunity to sample a lot of teas, packaging. Tea for tea. They come up with so many things, and the creativity, the designs, the packaging, the accessories, they all fascinated me. So I thought I would also venture into it. The challenge was also another thing, because I remember when I was going into this as a commercial venture, the feedback I would always get is, oh, Ghana, we don't drink tea. I mean, people don't drink tea. And it's not our culture to drink tea. But I differed a bit because what we drank something. We just didn't call it tea. I mean, growing up, your grandmother would have, or your mother would have a pot that is filled with all sorts of things, herbs and all of that. And when you're sick, you drink. And when you have a fever, you drink.
When you have a cold,
have constipation, you drink. We just didn't call it tea.
Yeah.
So we have been drinking. And so for me, it was just translating that concept into a form that is appealing to the younger generation or to the new Ghanaian. And that's what we did. We just took what has already always existed in a certain form and put it in a package and put it in a way that is appealing. And people are drinking. And we still see the growth coming. I mean, we haven't reached anywhere yet, but we see that coming.
Right.
But for me, the dream is bigger. We want to tell the story of Africa with our teas. So when you drink our teas, we would use herbs, spices that are local to Ghana or to our neighboring African countries. The dream is that we would represent every African country and the teas that they make, the form that they call it, and put it in a package so that one day very soon you walk into our shops and you would find a bit of Africa.
And everywhere you go.
Story of Africa in our teas. So that's the dream for me and the challenge. So I think it goes beyond just tea.
Okay.
It's always been the challenge, the excitement to create a brand, an international brand out of nothing.
How important is it to have a clear vision when you're starting out in a business? Because you meet people who have started a business, and they're like, oh, we are doing this, we're doing this. But there doesn't seem to be like a very clear vision or a strategy for the success of the business. So for you, how important would you say that it is to have that written down or, step-by-step strategy?
I think it's the most important. It doesn't have to be a verbose document, business plan that you never look through. It doesn't have to be a huge document that somebody writes for you. But it's crucial that you know where you are going in the next 10 years, for example. That long-term view helps you to build foundations, even in its infant stages. Okay, and I'll give you an example. If you are developing a brand that you believe will go global, then even at the starting point, you are very mindful of the name you choose for that brand, of the kind of packaging that you put that product in. You would want to understand what it means or what it would take to get onto the world markets and in shops and so on. It may not happen in the next 5 years or it may not happen in the next 6 years, but that is the goal. And so excellence begins to drive everything that you're doing because you have a vision. And that also feeds into your customer service. It feeds into your financial planning. It feeds into everything, So having the goal, the long-term goal is very, 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 very crucial. It's very important. It's number one. If you can't do a full document, at least write it somewhere. And because I'm a pastor, I have to add that the prophet says that when you have the vision, write it on the wall and put it there so that you would see it every day and it will drive you to where you want to go. Without that, it's almost impossible to have a good strategy on how or where you're going.
So, how difficult would you say the journey has been?
The journey on the teas, right?
The journey on all your businesses. So doing stuff for yourself.
Okay. I think every entrepreneur will tell you that it's not an easy journey. It is not. And it is not unique to Ghana, but it is exceptionally, I think it's a bit more difficult in Ghana because we don't have the structures that support entrepreneurs and startups. And all these, it runs across from financing to access to information to everything. We don't have, so you almost have to work blind or hit your head against all sorts of things before you can find your way. And then again, because we don't have anything supporting us, not government support, not rebates, nothing, so you have to basically fight your way through and compete with the rest of the world in places where they are getting support and getting access to funding at much lower rates and so on, and training and capacity building and staffing issues. Staffing is one of the most difficult, because I think there's some disconnect between education and industry, and so somebody says I'm a graduate, but you assign the work and it's challenging.
Yeah.
Okay. And then also the ability to get people to think. I mean, our system doesn't do an amazing job of that. We get people that will learn by rote and come into the workplace and expect to be guided and handheld, and that's challenging as an entrepreneur. So all these things don't make it very easy. But I also quickly add that those are the same things that create opportunities for us as entrepreneurs. In other places where the systems are much more enhanced, the opportunities are a lot more difficult to come by as well. So, we take the good and the bad.
And make it work. But I want to talk about soft skills now. I mean, we're not really a society that focuses on soft skills. We're very degree driven. But as an entrepreneur, and I mean, when you look at the 2023 list of soft skills that are needed, you realize that there's actually a lot more soft skills than the actual professional, stuff. So if somebody wants to go into entrepreneurship, what are some of the soft skills that they have to develop in addition to the education that they have or the training that they have in the sector that they're looking to go into?
I think when it comes to entrepreneurship, I mean, the sector or the training, the technical training you have is not really what will get you there. No. Because if you are an entrepreneur and you have your goal, your vision, your drive, you can actually go into a business where you have very little technical training, but you can acquire the resources to do what you want to do.
Okay.
And so soft skills is everything. I'm sure I'm doing a lot of work also in AI.
Yeah.
I work with Coral Reef, and we are doing a lot of work sensitizing people on what AI is coming to do and why it's even more crucial that you develop soft skills or skills that the machine will not be able to do.
Yeah, you're replaceable. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. You are very replaceable. So now we are shifting to skills that rely a lot more on your innovation, your creativity, your inclusivity, diversity, being able to work with diverse people, your teamwork, your ability to create your goal and all of that, because even in the presence of AI, even with AI, you want to use a tool, you have to know exactly what you want to do before you can get out the tool to work for you. So having that vision, design thinking, team spirit, ability to work with other people, collaboration,
emotional
and all of that is so important.
Yeah.
Very important. Your networking, everything that we do. I mean, talking to you today, I should at the back of my mind be thinking, how do I build a long-term network with you? I mean, in the light of all that I do. So I think it's a very important area for every entrepreneur to look at. It is not your knowledge of the technical skill. I did first degree finance. I did MBA finance. I never worked with it for a day. So if you ask me today why I did it, I don't even know. I just think my parents wanted me to go to business school. So I went to business school. I didn't have a clue what I was going to do with the finance. But regardless, that also has enabled me to understand everything my accountant or my finance manager will give me. Okay, so the ability, the attitude, the desire to know, the learning, the relearning. I mean, and with AI, for example, it's really dependent on how aggressive you are in wanting to know.
Okay.
If you don't have that innate desire to learn and relearn and unlearn, then you still won't get very far as an entrepreneur. You can't be steeped in your ways. You can't be, in a box and succeed as an entrepreneur. You have to constantly be flexible and keep changing and adapting. So yes, I think soft skills is the way to go.
Does personality matter?
Every entrepreneur must have it. Yes.
Does personality matter when you're deciding on becoming an entrepreneur?
When you say personality, what exactly are you alluding to?
So, I mean, if, for example, you're a quietish in your shell person, I mean, are there, when you decide that, okay, I want to do my own business, do you have to be realistic about who you are in terms of which parts of yourself you're willing to put out there to be successful?
I honestly don't think so.
Okay.
Because I've seen people thrive, all sorts of different people thrive in business. Some can be very quiet and don't want to be in front. Some can be very bubbly and want to be in front. All the terms they use, the choleric, the sanguine, whatever. I don't think it's dependent on that. It's really also a function of which kind of business you want to do.
Okay.
If you want to set up a business that doesn't interface with a lot of people, then there's no need for you to be a people person.
Okay.
Even if you are not a people person and you are a good entrepreneur and you're a good leader, you can acquire this, you can hire people to do the work that you cannot do.
Okay.
So the entrepreneur is more the person that is able to bring all the resources together for them to become productive. So I don't think personality actually matters. What matters more is your attitude and mindset.
Okay.
Those are crucial.
Attitude and mindset.
Yes, your attitude and your mindset, yes.
Okay. What are some of the most difficult parts of being an entrepreneur, working for yourself?
I think for me, the most difficult parts are sometimes it can get very lonely.
Okay.
And lonely in the sense that you are always hit with the reality of the fact that when it comes to the crunch, all your staff can leave. Unless you are giving them some shares in your business and they are stakeholders. Okay. If there's the business doesn't do well, they don't participate in that. So a lot of the time, as a business person, you are hoping that people will be loyal to the business, but you can't bind them to the business. So there's always that at the back of your mind. And then when people leave at very crucial times, or when you have invested so much in them and you are hoping that they are going to be there for the long haul and they leave, I think it's one of the most difficult situations every entrepreneur has to deal with, because it puts you in a very difficult situation regarding employees. You go all out. What do you do? How do you keep them loyal? Okay, and what do you do to get them committed and have the same kind of passion that you have as an entrepreneur? It's easy to say, oh, make them stakeholders, but when the business is a startup and you don't even know where you are going, you can't bring people on as stakeholders or shareholders. Just sweat shareholders because you are looking to raise money and all of that, and you would need to give up shares and all. So it's not easy. I think for me, the most challenging part of being an entrepreneur is the human resource, and how you get committed team to work with you the long haul. I think is the most difficult for me.
Do we have work ethic issues here in Ghana? Because a lot of people that I speak to who are entrepreneurs are always talking about the fact that when they're recruiting people, they almost feel the need to try to make them feel like they are a part of the business, or there's the chance to become a part owner. It's almost as if just being hired to do a job and getting paid is not incentive enough to have people who are working for you who are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Is that a work ethic problem that we have here in Ghana generally, or is it just with startups? I mean, like, what exactly is the problem, do you think?
I think I hate to always make blanket statements because there are always several sides to any of these challenges. On one hand, you have a lot of people that start off very well as staff, and then in the middle, they begin to have all sorts of entitlements, mentality regarding the business. I mean, they suddenly begin to think they have to have a stake in the business. But you also do have a situation where if you have very good staff, then the employer must also have systems and structures and enough motivation for those people to want to stay.
Okay.
I think it's important. And depending on the kind of business or the age of the business or the nature of the business, it's a conversation that you would want to have with your very good staff. It shouldn't be for everybody, especially in private business. We are not able to do the mebaha chair or the, everybody is getting the same thing kind of situation. No, you have to have a very good system which teases out the good people and have a plan or a structure to get them to stay long term.
Yeah.
Do we always succeed? No, because a lot of the time you are not even sure what people want. A lot of the time you as the business owner, you believe that you have a dream and you want to motivate your people to stay, and you see a future and you see how they can grow and become, but they don't see that in themselves.
Yeah.
And so it's difficult to let them want something or dream for something that
they themselves
do not see themselves getting. Exactly. So it's always difficult. I have been lucky with NutriHealth, my company. I have a very good team, very small but very good team. And right from the get-go, I made them understand that maybe a lot of people don't know this, but even in entrepreneurship, there are classes of all types. Not every business starter is a good business manager. No. So a lot of us that are graced to be creative and innovative, and we get very bored easily with mundane work, or once the business picks up and it is not as challenging and exciting, you want to move on to something else. So we don't end up being very good managers, and that is the problem. The entrepreneur, the business starter feels that I started the business, so I must manage the business. It's not always so. So right from the get-go, I made them understand that I would at a point want to exit and leave the business for them to run, which means they will become part owners at a point. And so that has worked for me. And I see the commitment, I see the passion with which they are working. And truly, at a point, it will get very boring for me, and I want to go and do something else because that is what I want to do. That is how I've been, my nature is.
Yeah.
I think it's important that the business owners also define clearly where they fit on the entrepreneurship train or entrepreneurship line or whatever. You can be a good starter, you can be a good manager, you can be, but you have to define where you are and find the right people that in the event where you want to move on, they feel that they have earned the right to become partners or shareholders or whatever it is that you want them to be.
Okay, that sounds good. How about support systems? How important is a support system? What kind of support system did you have?
My support system, I wouldn't say, I think sometimes we confuse the support system with family. So a lot of the time when I've been asked this question, what they end with is, oh, how has your husband helped you or contributed and all of that. Your support system doesn't necessarily have to be your
family.
Nuclear family.
Isn't always.
I have very good, I would call them mentees. or people I've mentored over the years, or people that are in my church or ministry, or people that I have long-term relationships with that have been very supportive.
Yeah.
Extremely supportive. I mean, I could have mentioned names, but there's one company, for example, I have known her since I was doing national service. You know, we used to work in Maasai developers at the time together, and she started her own business. And she consistently makes sure that she's giving me orders for the tea, to brand for her company, and so on. And those are the tangible support systems that I need. I don't need somebody just sending me, oh, how are you doing? Oh, are you tired? No. I mean, that doesn't help me in any way.
Yeah.
I need tangible support systems.
Yeah.
And these are some of the ways that I believe people should support entrepreneurs and startups. We don't just need words of motivation. We need tangible
referrals
support.
and recommendations and
exactly recommendation, ordering yourself, ordering for friends. I mean, those things go a long way. And I think in terms of that, I have had very good support because I didn't have money to do a lot of the advertising that I should have done, you know. But so organically, we have grown because there are people who support me. There are friends who would give recommendation or order for their companies, or, you know, some of them work in banks, and they anytime there's an opportunity, they'll give me a call and say, bring some of your tea and all of that. So I think that in that sense, I have had amazing support. In terms of my nuclear family, they've always known me to be, you know, always in one thing or another. So I'm sure they're even tired of me by now. But
they are tired of the difference. Today is this, tomorrow is that, tomorrow is that. I was going to ask about family. A lot of times when we speak to women, family does play a big role. The balancing, especially of family and children and all of that, which is funny because when you speak to men, it hardly ever comes up, you know, that family work balance. But how have you maintained the balance, and what kind of advice would you give to young women who are starting out, who also want to have a family, have children, and I guess have it all?
Anyway, you know something, I think I don't think I agree with a lot of these things, and I'm sure there will be arguments in that respect. I think all this boils down to how you want to structure your journey and your business, because I maybe because of how I have had support from my family, I wouldn't say. You see, in life, there's nothing like balance. Something always has to give. Something always has to give. So, there's always one way something is tilting in favor of something, you know, at a certain point in time. But I think that what I have been able to do, such that I haven't had any challenges whatsoever regarding family balancing and all of that, I am very pragmatic. I decide what I can do and what I cannot do.
Okay.
So if I don't, and everybody should forgive me, I don't watch. I have somebody who, because I look at the time I would use to wash, and if I am paying somebody to wash, it's way cheaper than me washing.
Yeah, time-wise.
Okay.
Not even money-wise, but time-wise. Yeah.
And forgive me, but I have to give props to a company like Dija. It's heaven for me. I don't go to the market. All I do is send my list. Wow. And they would go to the market and they will clean it, they will pack it, and they will bring it to me. I love to cook, so I would cook. Okay, all these things save you time and money. I'm not a superwoman.
Okay.
I don't try to be one.
Okay.
So a lot of the women entrepreneurs are trying to juggle all sorts of things, you know, and that creates a lot of stress. And then they are challenged, and then they'll say the men are cheating us. No, you would have to plan. You would have to do things that you can do and outsource the ones that you cannot do. You would have to be able to delegate, even in the workplace, things that are not too confidential or strategic. Learn to delegate. You can't do. I know women businesses that they are doing the production, they are doing the marketing, they are doing the. You would burn out, and then you would complain that your family is suffering. NutriHealth doesn't market its own products. We have a partner company, a marketing company that we have sourced our marketing to, because I don't have the energy and the strength for that. You get it?
Yes,
so
I do.
I think it is more as training the women to understand what it takes to run a business. You don't have to do everything by yourself. And when you do that, it frees you time to be able to manage your home and manage your other activities that make you sane, because when you burn out, everything else suffers.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a challenge. I rather think it is women that have to sit and clearly define what the roles are, what they can do, what they cannot do, what their partners are willing for them to do and not do. I mean, I cringe when I hear the men that say they don't eat food in a fridge in this day and age. I mean, like, you don't eat food in a fridge, saying, And so if you have a husband like that, that is a unique challenge.
Yeah, because you have to cook every day.
You have to find a way around it. Okay, but I'm blessed to have somebody who understands, that fridge is fridge and we all eat food from the fridge. And so if there's food in the fridge, it's still good food. So it's also balancing all these things and planning properly and making sure that the things that are mundane, that take your time, that can be outsourced, it is outsourced. And you pay for that. You pay for that service. You realize that what you'll be making back in terms of the time release is way more than what you would be paying anybody.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think sometimes the problem
has been my strategy to work around this.
And I completely agree with you. I think it's a fantastic strategy. The problem I've encountered with other people is the fact that their partners are very steeped in the expectation of certain traditional roles being fulfilled. So if my wife is not the one cooking, or if she's not the one taking care of the children, or if she's not the one who is doing this or who is doing that, or when you're bringing somebody into the home to help, then there's the threat of, well, if there's another woman walking around, then, and so it makes it difficult. How do you deal with situations like that? I mean, obviously, apart from having these very important conversations before you make the decision to tie yourself to someone, but how do you...
You made the decision already.
Exactly. When you've made it already, what do you do?
I think those are challenging issues. I don't even know where they originate from. I think for starters, if you don't trust somebody in your home because the person may take your husband, then you have a big problem. I don't know whether you'll be following the husband to work.
Oh, everywhere he goes, then, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, that's really, it's something that the woman has to deal with and let go and release. In that case, then maybe that person would have to have somebody who doesn't stay in the house, but will come and go. Personally, I believe that food that my husband is going to eat, I want to be sure of what he's eating. So I would prefer to make that. But I also plan a lot. So I pre-prep a lot of my meals. You get it? So that when I wake up in the morning and I have to make food for him to take to work, I'm not now going to make soup from the get-go. I've already done that the evening before or a week before and so on. So it also comes down to the planning. As for the trust issues, they need Jesus on that one, because if you do it at home, you will do it outside. That for me doesn't solve any problem. And so, but in terms of the traditional role that or nature of some men regarding home issues and all of that, I think it requires a lot of wisdom and also your ability to up your negotiation skills. I think a lot of the time women are very emotional. And so instead of developing arguments from a point of facts and logic and akrokro kakra and lobbying kakra, and we tend to be very emotional and say that he won't let me do this, and so that's it.
And then we start crying.
I accept my lot, and we start crying, and it doesn't help it. I think some conversations take a while to get to the point where they have to get to. Start the conversations.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe they won't agree from day one, but as you begin to build your case more logically and without emotion and all of that, gradually you can turn them around. And of course, with your prayer and a lot of wisdom. But if you are now getting married, then you have to ask the right questions.
I find it so interesting that you are talking about women learning how to approach conversations with logic and reasoning, and then obviously that crow and the lobbying and all of that. But as women, we're not taught. We're almost like sort of nurtured in default that we're emotional. So we're not taught to develop how to even logicalize the emotions. Because I find that when I'm having a conversation with someone and I can talk to them about the science behind the emotions, I appear to be more logical about the emotions. Therefore, if you're communicating with a man, then they're more willing to listen. But I wish we would have more conversations like that where we're telling women, that be logical in your it doesn't and anything else doesn't really work. I mean, to be honest. So I mean, thank you for that. That was a really great point.
I'm training, I do quite a bit of training for the banks and other institutions on sales. And one of the areas that I love to focus a lot on is negotiation skills. Once you acquire the skill to negotiate in the workspace, you bring it home. You bring it home. And sometimes in a negotiation, you don't finish in one sitting.
No, you don't.
When you realize that it's getting emotional, you cut it off, you revisit at another point. Sometimes you have to make certain concessions so that other concessions can be given to you and so on. Nobody goes into a negotiation process with emotion. You've lost already. And I think women need to build that capacity.
I think we should do a show on the art of negotiation just for women, so that we can. I think we should definitely do that in the next few weeks to really teach women how to, not to win, but how to put their points across in a way that is logical and that is more heard.
Exactly. Because sometimes in a negotiation, nobody really wins or loses. Everybody makes some concessions.
And then we get somewhere.
It could be that he may not agree that somebody should make my food, but he will agree that somebody should clean the house. Or somebody to come and iron the things.
Or when you put the food in the freezer, somebody can warm it for him if you are not home.
Exactly.
So something like
all
that.
sorts of things that we have to do. I mean, as for my husband, when the food is in the fridge, he decides that there's no food. So what we have agreed is that I put it in a warmer in the place where it's visible, and I go and sleep.
Fair enough.
Okay, so when he comes, he sees the food. So I mean, it's a gradual thing. You have to negotiate your way. Sometimes you tell you there's no food in this house, and they are all
meanwhile the food is in the fridge.
It's full, but I mean, there's no food as long as it's not in the open space.
What an amazing blessing of God. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're out of time. We're switching to football.
So soon.
Yes, we've done almost an hour. But it's been so great talking to you. Reverend Brahima Intim, she's the CEO for Nutri Health Foods and Beverages. If you've ever tried any of her teas, then you know that's absolutely fantastic. And you can find them almost anywhere. I've seen them in Shell shops, in most of the major supermarkets, really nice. So look out for it. She'll be joining us a lot more as the days come. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your wisdom with us.
Thank you.
We're so grateful.
Next time I'll come to the studio.
Yes, please. Especially for our show, The Art of Negotiation. Yes. I'm really looking forward to that.
I'll come.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And thank you to you for staying tuned in to Strong and Sassy. My name is Enimwa Enimado. I can smell Gary Al Smith somewhere around here. So some exciting football coming up right after this. Don't go anywhere.